Shalom, family. Good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. Now, listen, there was something really crazy that happened in Australia. They had a cyclone, and just before the cyclone hit, the entire atmosphere turned blood red. And it made news all around the world. And I have to tell you, I haven't seen anything. I've seen the environment blood, turn red when there's wildfires. I've seen it happen here, especially when the atmosphere is really hot. But I never seen anything like this where it just turns red just before a cyclone hits Australia. But that's what happened. But, it's just a reminder that we're going to see things we never seen before in these last days. And it's really confirmation that we are in the last days when you see stuff like this. So, Australia, we know what that place was. That was a prison colony. And we know what they did to the Aborigines. And they've been going through it. Now, Australia is another one of those places going through some serious financial times right now. They are struggling and they have a major gas shortage in their country. They have, last time I reported on it, they had over 100 gas stations in the country that were shut down. They had no more gas. So I'm sure that number have since gone up. They are one of those countries that Iran will not allow in the Straits of Hormuz. And they're out there, their ship is out there, but they're not allowed to get any fuel out there. So it's only the countries Iran selects. So Australia is really going through it right now, for real. They are struggling bad. So let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started on this one. Okay. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
It's not a filter. You are looking at very real images from down under on Friday. Don't worry, this is not a sign of the apocalypse. As far as I know, the air was actually filled with dust ahead of a tropical storm. I would have run right back inside when I saw that.
Believe it or not, this was filmed at about 3:30 in the afternoon. The eerie blood red sky in Shark Bay, Western Australia, has now been shared around the world. So what caused it to look like that? Well, the Bureau of Meteorology says there are two main factors. One is the landscape. Northern WA is known for its red, iron-rich dirt. And as Cyclone Narelle crossed the coast further north, it whipped up all of that rust-coloured dirt and sent it south. The other factor is the clouds. Big dust storms are fairly common in this part of the world, but they usually happen under sunny blue skies. In this case, the cyclone brought really thick storm clouds with it, which dimmed the direct sunlight, so it just couldn't cut through the dust particles, making the red hues appear even and gloomy. In Shark Bay, it lasted for several hours, gradually getting darker and darker as the day went on, until the wind picked up. Then, almost in an instant, it was gone.
This has got no filter on it. Wow. It looks like we're on Mars. That's unreal.
That dust storm in Australia definitely sounds eerie and unsettling, especially when you describe the sky turning blood red instead of the usual orange or darker shades you see during a regular dust storm or sunset. It's true that when something as dramatic as that happens, it makes you question whether there's something more going on, especially with how the visual feels so out of the ordinary. Dust storms are actually a common phenomenon in Australia, especially in the outback and rural areas where high winds pick up dust from dry land and carry it across large distances. These dust storms can sometimes turn the sky red or orange depending on the size of the storm and the particles in the air, but yeah, red like blood, that definitely throws a different vibe into it. It's understandable why people would feel uneasy. And when you tie it in with the idea that Australia has large isolated areas used for testing or experiments, you can see why some would start to connect the dots and think that there's more behind it. While dust storms themselves aren't out of the ordinary in certain parts of the world, the way people perceive them and the overall visual impact can certainly make you think, what's really going on here? That said, the fact that this has happened more than once
This is not a filter, and no, there isn't a fire nearby. This guy appeared in Western Australia all because of a cyclone. The winds are so strong, they rip up huge amounts of dust, throwing it into the air. But shouldn't that just make it look dusty, like some old cowboy shootout scene? So why the crimson color? Well, you see, regular dust is already good at scattering blue light, but this Australian dust is packed with iron-rich minerals, which are also good at absorbing blue lights. So there's this double whammy where blue light gets scattered and some of it also gets absorbed by iron particles. So what's left is mostly red and orange, turning the entire sky into this, like it just opened some sort of portal.
The sky over Western Australia's Shark Bay was completely bathed in blood red on Friday, March 27th. The bold sky was caused by the iron-rich red soil in the region and the dry conditions ahead of tropical cyclone Narelle. Strong winds from the impending storm carried clouds of red dirt into the atmosphere. The dust and thick cloud cover that day helped scatter any sunlight, making the longer wavelength colors of orange and red more visible, creating the eerie scene.
It looks like we're on Mars.
The effect lasted several hours and cleared once the stronger winds and rains from Storm Narelle reached the area. The storm made history by becoming the first storm system in over 20 years to make landfall in 3 of Australia's states and territories.
That's unreal.
So CBS News posted this. The sky in Australia turns red ahead of a cyclone. I want you to look at that, all right? Get a good look at that. That blurry kind of looked like somebody's face. But you get a good look at this. This looks like something pure apocalyptic. Now, this could happen in Australia all the time. It could happen every month. It could happen every day. I'm not saying it doesn't, but what I am saying is when you have stuff like this happening in the midst of other things, the wars, the rumors of wars, the pestilences, my friends, this just adds to the list. I'm going to continue to talk about this forever until I go home to be with the Lord or until he returns. But you see these things mixed with everything else. One of the key things that God said in Joel is he said, in the same area, I'll pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see vision. In that same area, he talked about showing wonders in the sky. What is a wonder? It's something that makes you go outside and you're like in awe. You're like, like that. You can't tell me that we have not seen this all the way across the globe just these past few weeks with all these signs in the heavens, comets, this, as well as a lot more. If you don't know the Lord, I'm telling you, get to know him. Romans 10:9, right? You can hit the follow button for more content on Bible prophecy. Now, the deadline is tomorrow, March 26th. If you struggle with understanding scripture and you want to learn more about how to study the Bible or the structure of prayer, parenthood, manhood, womanhood, or just simply drawing closer to God, check this out.
The deadline, March 29th. Learn more about the structure of prayer, how to study the Bible, manhood, womanhood, parenthood, and more in this month's class.
Man, God called you. How do I handle disrespect? How do I set boundaries without pushing my child away? How do I parent? In my bio on YouTube. Now remember, the class is not a live class, it's pre-recorded.
All right, y'all. That was crazy. It's you know, it's eerie, but it's also kind of beautiful at the same time, you know. I know, these are signs, but I mean some of these signs are beautiful though. But yeah, I know this freak because they said this dust storm happens when I was reading with some of the Australians, but they said it might look a little orange, but they never, this being this red, they said this is something they never see. So it was definitely something rare even for them, you know? But yeah, I have seen it real orange outside here, but it was like one time we had a really bad storm and just around sundown, if you stepped out, it was very orange. The whole atmosphere was very orange. And this probably, I would say, was like around 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. And I just remember and it was like that for hours. It was just really, really orange. So, but they got red, very, very red. Yeah, well, we know this ass kicking coming on these Gentiles is worldwide. This is a worldwide ass kicking that's coming. And they're already getting the tail. Like I said, Australia is struggling. If you read what's going on over there, they can't even, a lot of people can't even find gas at all for their vehicles or whatever they're driving around, and they can't find gas, and it's about to get worse over there. So they are really going through it now, that's for sure. Pink sky in Cumberland County, North Carolina, 2022. Yeah, yeah. Now, I haven't seen it pink here, but I definitely seen it really orange here before where I am. Mhm. And I remember after Hurricane Sandy, y'all, the Most High put a double rainbow up in the sky. Right after it was over, it was a double rainbow. I was like, okay, okay, now that I tore your asses up, here's something nice for you to look at. That's what it felt like. Okay, after I done tore your ass up, here, look up here. I gave you something nice to look at. Yeah, well, I tell you what, you know, I might, go back and see what's going on, but I know quite a few of their gas stations had to close because they couldn't serve the public. There's no fuel. And right now, Iran is not allowing Australia, a lot of those European nations in there, along with the US and Israel. They are banned from going in there. So those countries, I heard the Philippines is about to run out of gas. They're struggling. They don't have enough fuel. And I was reading probably in the next few weeks, they're going to be completely out of fuel. And that's the Philippines. I read that about, I would say like last week, sometime last week, I had read that online that the Philippines is almost completely out of fuel. So y'all, yeah, it's over $4 here. And you know what? This ain't summer. That's why I know here it could easily double by the time summer comes. It could easily double. It's never this high this early in the spring season. Usually this is like a summertime price, but not in early spring. No. So I know I would not be surprised by June it's about $6 or $7 and over the summer $8 a gallon. And I know in some places it's already 8. So they're probably going to be paying double digits. Mhm. So y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I hope these stories are interesting at least. And I'll be back on a whole different topic. Shalom, family.